And cheering. I said, I must have done it right. Because you had people that were really something. Because 4 or 5 years ago, this place was a disaster. In 2017, Whirlpool won relief from the ITC once more. Your foreign competitors moved their factories to prevent a level playing field and to avoid liability, shifting production to Thailand and to Vietnam. Thailand and Vietnam, two places that I like their leaders very much, very nice things. Do they take advantage of the United States? Not so much anymore. But this time there was one big difference. Instead of an administration that sold out American workers.
In half a mile, keep left to continue on I-24 East. Follow signs for I-24 East, I-40 East.
Oh, for real? Stood up for the American worker. Huh? On January 23rd, 2018 at my desk in the Oval Office.
What? Stay left. Where are we going?
Keep left to continue on I-24 East.
That's it. You're in the wrong lane.
Continue on I-24 East for 3 miles.
That was north. Oh. Wasn't it? Yeah, that was north.
I proudly signed the order to impose a 50% tariff on all foreign-made washing machines. As a result, Whirlpool's 9 factories across the United States were soon thriving like never. No other campaign has been powered by the people, the silent heroes of America, like before, investing in new products, new infrastructure, and hundreds of new American jobs. And I just took a tour, and I actually wanted a couple of those machines for myself. But I just didn't know it was going to be appropriate to ask.
In 2 miles, use the second from the right lane to take exit 50B for I-24 East, I-40 West toward I-40 East, Knoxville.
Findlay, Ottawa, Greenville, and Marion.
Ottawa, Illinois.
Your company became a shining example. From really a company that was down and out, it became a shining example of what tough trade policies and smart tariffs can bring to jobs and prosperity to communities like this one all over Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and plenty of other states. They're all doing well. They were doing great. Then the plague came in, and now they're doing great again. We closed it up. We saved millions of lives, but now we're opening, and it looks like I was right about the V, because you're seeing the kind of numbers that are coming in, and they're coming in strong. They're coming in strong. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. China should have never let it happen. In defending your jobs here at Whirlpool, I was doing exactly what I promised in June 2016. As a candidate for president, I stood before an audience of hardworking patriots at a metals processing facility outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to outline my plan for a new America First trade policy. And it was even a better job than I told you. I'm one politician that says, I'm going to do this, and then we do better. We produced more than I promised. And by the way, the wall is being built. It's going to be finished very soon.
In a quarter mile, use the second from the right lane to take exit 50B for I-24 East, I-40 West toward I-40 East, Knoxville.
Globalization, moving our jobs, our wealth, and our factories overseas. I explained that globalization, these are the globalists.
What?
I'm not liking globalists too much.
Look at that.
Use the second from the right lane to take exit 50B, then use the left lane to merge onto I-40 West.
Politicians very wealthy, but it's left millions and millions of our workers with nothing but poverty and heartache, and our towns and cities with empty factories and plants. For years later, we've made extraordinary progress in reversing the dangerous tide of globalism Over a period of 4 to 5 years, this took place. Think of it, 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5
what
years.
we've done is
45 years.
and now it's getting even better because we've taken additional steps. And you know, when you do these steps, you have to go through some.
Continue on I-40 West for half a mile.
Then what?
Has to go out for 90 days of review, then 120 days of review, then more. We did it as quick as we can. We're doing it right now with the FDA. We're getting vaccines approved in days that nobody thought possible.
In a quarter mile, use the left 2 lanes to take exit 210B for I-65 south toward Huntsville.
Look at all the construction out there.
Oh wait, we are going
We've
from.
rejected globalism and embraced
I'm losing
patriotism.
my mind.
In my speech in
What would you
Pittsburgh,
Use
think?
the left 2 lanes to take exit 210B.
I don't know what I'm thinking.
to American workers. Many politicians before me promised change or the campaign trail only to
Continue on I-65 south for 160 miles.
like Jerusalem. They all promised
Get me out of this place.
for years and years.
Holy
They didn't do it. They didn't get out of Nashville. Move the embassy to Jerusalem, making Jerusalem the capital of Israel. They all talked about it. They talked and talked and talked, and then they got into office and they didn't do it. And I understand why. The pressure was enormous on me too. I just didn't take the phone calls. That's true. Leaders would call up from other countries. They'd say, I know what they're calling about. I'll call them back in a few days. Then I just signed all the papers, got it done, and then I called them back. They said I was calling about Israel and Jerusalem, but you've already done it. I said, that's right. And they said, oh, okay. I said, hey, I wish you got me a little bit earlier. But I didn't back down from my promises, and I've kept every single one. First, I promised to withdraw the United States from the last administration's disastrous assault on U.S. workers. The Trans-Pacific Partnership would have been a disaster. Would have been a disaster, especially for the automobile industry. Would have put it out of business. My first week in office, I kept that promise and canceled that job-killing catastrophe. Second, I pledged to appoint the toughest and smartest trade negotiators to defend American jobs, and I did with Bob Lighthizer and all of his people. They've been fantastic. Third, I said I would use every legal tool at my disposal to fight back against unfair trade, and I did, and I found some that nobody even knew about. Some of them were very old. They had a lot of dust on them, hadn't been used for decades and decades, but I found them. Things you could never get past today. Fourth, I promised to label China a currency manipulator, and I did. Fifth, I said we would bring trade cases against China to crack down on its economic aggression. Sixth, I committed to impose tariffs on goods to protect American jobs and stop China and many other countries' abuses under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 and Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. As your president, I have kept every single one of these pledges to the American people and to the American worker without exception. Everyone has been done. Seventh, one of my biggest promises in that speech was to replace the disaster known as NAFTA, one of the worst trade deals ever made by any country, let alone ours. Ohio lost almost 40% of its manufacturing jobs after NAFTA was signed. Half of all of the automaking jobs across the state were wiped out. Earlier this year, I finally ended the NAFTA nightmare and signed the brand new USMCA agreement. That's United States and Mexico and Canada. And all of those bad things that you had to suffer with, you're not suffering anymore, because now people and companies have an incentive to stay. They're not going to be leaving so fast. That was the biggest point I made. I want to make sure that these companies aren't leaving in the manager's walk up and they say, I'm sorry.